now we'll get into the layers of evolution. So what I explored and researched, not formal research in terms of a white paper, but people are asking me to write that now. And I'm going to start gathering that together with some of the space I've got during this lockdown, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, spiral dynamics, values pendulum. I'm a certified values pendulum facilitator, the human energy system, adult human development theory, psychology development theory, Barrett's model of Darwinism, and also social development theory. I've checked through all those, but I also looked through Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and the Quran. And all of these, whether it be science or spirituality, they talk about these aspects of being, or the stages of evolution, or the chakras, or it doesn't really matter which frame of network you look at, they talk about them. And what I did with the visual dyslexia is I started patterning. I love solving things. That's just why I spent 16 years in continuous improvement, because I like understanding how things work and optimizing them to flow. And then the biggest challenge of all is like people. Is like, how do people work? Why do some people are so engaged and some are not? And why do people see different perspectives, and their perspectives change as they go along in time? So that's what really drove that, and also to learn it for myself. So I experienced, my black scar, forest scar in life, and that really drove me to learn more about why I felt certain things and why I, did certain things, to understand more about myself and where it came from. So that's the origins of this research. So the base layer is really about the first 0 to 6 years. And this is the most revealing out of the 7 layers, because you see it working all of its sub layers too, because there's no other frame of reference in the first phase. But the first major phase is really about physical needs. So if you look at a child, it's really about their security needs being met. And what damages that is fear. Fear creates those strains, not necessarily black scars, but strains in the life. Can be black scars. So I exist is the perspective, or to exist, and the energetical element behind that is earth, groundedness. So these energetic elements here relate a bit more to the spiritual side, which a lot of our practitioners love. So I'll share both. Now, the next phase after this phase is the connection phase, emotional balance, driven by acceptance and stifled by guilt. It's between the age of 7 to 13. It's the I feel, or to feel, the emotional center. And water is the element of that one, about flowing connection, carving pathways through your existence, the earth. So in this phase, if you think about our deepest connection, how do you have your deepest connection with a person? What's your deepest connection you can have with another person? Physically, sexual connection. There's a deep connection. It's physical as well, sexual connection. It's in that space also. So that aspect of our being is really evolved in that stage. And it's maybe coincidental, but the fluids in our body come out of that region as well. So the next aspect up, and you can try it out, have a connection with a person, a deep, meaningful conversation, and turn your pelvis away from them. Like, keep your upper body, and you just feel and watch it change the dynamic instantly. But when you're connected with someone, what you do is you put your pelvis towards them. It's subconscious a lot of the time. You've experienced that?
That's true. Yeah.
So the next one is the I do energy, between 14 and 20. So they call it terrible teens. This is where it's achievement, willpower. It's finding one's power, significance, expressing our own inner power. The element is fire, and it's stifled by shame. So public speaking, you guys have done public speaking. Where do you feel the nervousness?
In your belly.
In the belly, right? It's very distinct. It's undeniable. It's this fluttering feeling that
and my voice.
Yeah.
My voice.
Yeah. The voice, we'll come back to that one. That comes up from here, but it's connected. It's connected. So that the sense of significance, people say, oh, I have a fear of public speaking. And then when I hear that, I normally challenge those. You feel like they're going to take your life? There's a threat there to your existence? Or is it perhaps shame? Yeah, you're scared that your significance will be judged, yeah, or you can't deliver your significance. So there is a distinct difference between fear and shame. Yeah, and shame is really about compressing one's significance. Fear is really about the threat of one's existence. There's a difference. So the next element up then is the center of being, yeah, which is love and being loved, yeah, or to be valued is the ShareTree context, but I'm giving it to you as per the collective references that I had to build this. So gratitude is what empowers that. And often people say, oh, is it love? Well, gratitude is sometimes more powerful than love. So love is a more powerful force. Gratitude is more holistic in its force, because if you lose someone you love, it's gratitude for having known them that breaks the cycle. The love itself creates the sorrow. Yeah, you long for that loving connection still, but the gratitude for having had them in the first place is what breaks that cycle to reinstall love's balance.
Is that naturally a really difficult time for people? I'm just finding my kids in their early 20s are really a little lost, and I don't really understand why.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I do understand, but I just find there's a little bit of an entitlement with kids now, I think, from how we've raised them to a certain extent. And I can see sorrow in one of my kids, or both of my kids actually. It's interesting. I'm talking out loud because I've got a lot of questions around where those kids are at and why.
Yeah, so it's all of these are happening at once. Yeah, it's not that only this phase happens at this stage, but it's generally the major lens that one looks through. And I'll show you the sub phases shortly. But it doesn't mean that your sense of existence ceases once you finish that phase. It's going on again. In fact, it happens within this phase as a sub phase, but now through the lens of love, yeah, passion and gratitude, or sorrow. Depends if you've got growth mindset or fixed mindset. So, and your circumstances in life. So there's so many factors, but the primary lens is about love and being loved. Yeah, it's a sense. If you think back to that age, some of you might be still in that age.
No, I am not.
No, I was fairly certain not, but it's that age where you open up. Yeah, I know. I felt that deep sense of wanting to be in love at that stage, and I did find a deep love at that stage as well. So, how about yourselves? Was it similar?
Yeah, I was a parent at 23.
Yeah, there you go. There's life circumstances giving you your own blend of it. So did you find a deep loving connection? It can be with your children, can be with something, it can be with a partner.
Partner, children, the whole lot.
Yeah,
that's true. And especially for I feel part 7 to 13. It's so interesting that my son is 7, and he started talking about his emotions. He's like, my heart is broken, or like, do you trust me? You don't trust me, Mom. It's like very, 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 like you wouldn't use trust words, like something that's, going to the park, for example, like, I trust you, go to the park. But the emotional stage and balance and managing those emotions is just more out there, like after 7 for sure.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
There's distinct markers and you'll see them change. And this is why our parenting style can't be the same all the way through. Mm-hmm. We need to shift a parenting style to cater for their lens, because we've already been through it. So you can always look down the tree, but you can't look up. Yeah, you're looking into a black box. When you look up, you can only look back from where you've come from. Mm. So as the parent, our role is to help create a container for them to explore, not to stifle them, not to prescribe to them, but to let them explore within boundaries that won't create forest scars. So you had a breakup before, lost something that you love. Where do you feel that? Where do you feel that? Yeah.
Around 21.
No, not when, where do you feel it on your body?
Oh, heart.
Yeah. It's like, I remember when I had my first breakup from my long-term girlfriend, I was like, what the hell is this feel? It feels like literally someone's ripped your heart out of your chest.
Or put like a kind of electricity, it's just like, that it just hurts, that it's just, it wasn't a good feeling.
It was very distinct. It's not in your belly, not like when you're public talking.
No.
Yeah.
And then the next phase up is then 28 to 34. So this is communication and expression around one's truth. Yeah. So what often happens in this phase, not always, but often, there's a challenging of the constructs that everyone else has laid on you up until that point. And you start re-evaluating and forming your own framework from your own rich base. And the transition point is the heart. Now you've become past center, and now you're actually starting to look back through your foundations to see, is that framework true to who I am in my character and my experience of life? So there can be, sometimes re-evaluation, call it midlife crisis and things. It's this phase, it's the truth phase that you're talking about. And then people sometimes take action on, if they've put themselves in a position, or their parents have put themselves in a position to be where they are finding themselves in a place not true to them, then they can create a shift here in the awareness phase. So that is about awareness and insight, about discovery and growth. Again, it's not that you're not discovering and growing all the way along, but there's a deeper and a broader depth of discovery in this phase. Yeah. And
that's where I am.
It's about learning. It's about learning on all aspects, but now it's so meaningful because it's founded in your own truth. So that's illusion is what stifles that growth phase, and it's the energy of light. Yeah. It's about seeing things as they are. The highest phase, it's not the last phase, but it's the highest phase on this, validated scale from these sources, is purpose and spirituality. Yeah, meaning, highest sense of drive. Now, it's not that we don't have meaning in the first phase. My daughter actually asked questions just recently. Oh, what happens when we die? That there is a sense of meaning right from the start, but it becomes very deep at this stage. I'm in this phase myself right now. Meaning on love, gratitude, in fact, and look what I'm doing. I'm rolling out ShareTree.
Yeah.
So there is significance. Your life constructs it in a way that's meaningful to you.
That's so true.
Space and ether, and it's I understand is the energy. Yeah, there's this greater awareness to it all.
Okay, so I'm 51, and what's happening with me now?
Yeah, so the fully
Did I stop, or do I go back down the bottom?
In our system, evolution continues. So there's non-validated and not part of these other researchers. There's two more. If you want to speak on the spiritual level, the next is I transcend, then I remember, and then I return. So there's
I love that.
Few phases. So I transcend is really going beyond the physical now, because purpose and meaning empowers you now to look into outside of the 3D reality.
Yeah.
And you're actually starting to prepare your soul to remember why it came and where it's going to return. So we used to use the term community elder. If you look in a tribe, when they get past that stage, the role is actually to guide, and you can see you're doing it in your work, and it's starting to emerge for Naz already, ahead of time. And I'm doing the same now. It's like, how do we impart the wisdom onto others so that they can accelerate their own evolution and growth? So we can talk about that in private.
I just love it, though. I love what you just said.
Yeah, and then I return to last phase.
Yeah.
So, I remember some people, because dementia is quite a common thing. I personally believe some of that dementia is actually where you're transcending the realms. Yeah, you're actually starting to be more potentially in spirit. Yeah, because there's a merging of the realms that you start to forget the 3D reality, and you're preparing to go home.
You know, interestingly, I was actually upstairs in the dementia wing yesterday, and it's quite a sad place to be. Most people are just sleeping in layback chairs, in those big chairs. And this lady came up to me and she just said, "I know you." And I thought, I've never seen you before in my life, but okay. But she was convinced she knew me and she just wanted to talk to me. And it is very much sometimes like a childlike state that people move into. But what else is going on in there? We don't know, right?
No, we don't know.
And
we're looking up into the black box.
it's very interesting.
Yeah, there's I forget his name now. He made a statement as a really wise guy. He says, "We don't remember who we were before we came, nor do we know who we'll become when we go." Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So that's the major phases. Now, as I said earlier, there's sub phases within the major phases. So let's look at the first phase, which is the simplest one to look at. So when you're coming for survival needs is the first phase. In the first year of that phase, it's a major lens of survival with a sub lens of surviving. Yeah. So I'm just trying to live at that stage. So it's relying on my parents to feed me, my environment. That's the base. Then after age 1, and again, it's not fixed, but it's the general flow of evolution. You can see it most in this first phase because there's not a lot of other phases mixed in behind it. Then it's connection. And if you watch your children, you've both had kids, so I love talking to people that have kids. They understand this deeply. The children, when they start looking at you and knowing that you're there, how old are they? When you see them starting to look back with a deep understanding that you're there.
Yeah. They're early.
Early.
Yeah, like within, they're smiling at you within 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So, their eyes are clear. I feel like they know you instantly, personally.
So the connection starts there. And then when do they start actually expressing the emotion back? When does it start flowing?
When they start smiling and they start grabbing your hand and, I don't know. It's a long time ago. Tell me.
Yeah,
1 year old? No.
Yeah. So after they get past the age of 1, the emotions start to really balance more. So the first phase, you'll see children cry a lot, mostly out of need of food. Yeah, that's the cycle at the start, survival need. But then after the age of 1 and approaching 1, you'll see their emotions start shifting. They start using their emotions then also for different aspects in a more deeper way.
Yeah.
Now, they try at the start to be held as well, but it's more around food and the base survival. But the connection need emerges at 1, really deeply. And they start then understanding how they can use emotion to connect with those that are caring for them.
That's true.
It becomes very deep. Then at age 2, again, they call it terrible teens and they call it terrible 2s. It's this achievement and willpower.
Yeah.
So the child gets very inquisitive. They're walking strongly by now. They're getting into everything. And again, it's a generalization. Some people are, different in their development cycles. So, I mean, if a child's with Down syndrome, it doesn't mean they're not evolving. They're evolving through a different lens. I think they're gifts, like visual dyslexia. It's an altered learning. It's a gift in a different way. That's my take on it all. The year 3 is where they're really exploring love. Now, it's not that they don't love you earlier, but you watch the expressions of love at 3. They really start languaging it, a lot.
It's beautiful.
Hugging, it's the best, one of the best phases, I reckon, where they're really starting to connect deeply.
Yeah.
And then at 4, but why, you've heard your kids say that.
Oh, golly.
That's the truth phase. So you can see these sub-phases happening within a phase.
Yeah.
Within the phase,
And then there's a reason why they go to school at 5, right? The mind is now expanded enough for them to start taking things in. So
Yeah,
we
that's
can't
true.
answer all the whys ourselves. Someone else has to help us do that.
yeah, absolutely. And 6 is around purpose and spirituality. That really starts coming alive as well at that stage. I know with my kids, they started asking way bigger questions at that stage. And then it goes on again. Then the lens slowly augments across to connection and emotional balance being the main aspect. So now you'll see them at school. They start working with their friends and the whole dynamic changes again. And they start relearning, well, how do I survive now in this environment? How do I use my emotions in a peer setting now, not with those that I love, because it's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
And my siblings in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth. And it goes through all of life. So, yeah.
That's so interesting.
And so true, you know, like it really fits.
Yeah, it does.
So when you're coaching with Parametrics, what we do is we ask for this age with their permission. It's not mandatory to give it, but it gives you an insight to see what lens they may be looking through.
Yeah.
Now, don't be fixed on it, because everyone's life circumstances are their own, and you don't know what sensitivities and gifts have been carried through their life experience. But it does give insight that facilitates good opening discussion.
I'm not sure how to take the fact that I'm a community elder at 51, Steve.
I've got to update the image.
I don't think I want to be an elder just yet.
That's why we're changing it. We've had that comment a few times. An elder in the Western sense is seen as old, but an elder in a tribal sense is seen as wise.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I am very wise. I'll take it as that.
So, but we've changed it to say fully evolved. Yeah. So, on the scale.
And the funny thing is, of course, that not everyone is fully evolved at that age. There's a lot of people who just aren't.
Well, they're fully evolved in the cycle. Now, this is an interesting point that you raise, and it's important to understand the depth and the breadth that we have from every stage is dependent on how our mindset is, how much of a growth mindset we have, and how much courage we have to explore with respectfully, without harming our body.
And that's an important point, isn't it?
It's got to be balanced. Like any character trait and virtue you can take to an extreme. Determination, you can have it to an extreme that it's going to break you, and you can have not enough of it that it doesn't drive you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, justice the same, purposefulness the same. All of them need to be balanced.
Yeah. And one of my the workshop for the purpose that really differentiate, you know, when people have this moment with the life-changing experiences. So in some cases, people are just having very dramatic, you know, life-changing experiences in their life that kind of puts them either, you know, like in terms of awareness, they just become more aware of themselves, versus the others, you know, that they have a different way of, you know, like a pattern to follow. So when I ask that question, or that part of, you know, more confidential or more personal part of the exercise, just make them like this aha moment where they see themselves much more clearly. And that might have effect, you know, where they might have 20 years old versus, you know, like 37. It sometimes reflects on that as well. So
there's three parts to it. There's the DNA, so your biological, you know, makeup inherited from your parents, which recent science now shows that their emotions and experiences are passed on through the genetic code. So that's your vehicle for experiencing life. That's got some framework already set around it. Then there's your mindset, which is the greatest influencing one. So the mindset, now they've proven, can actually start to recode your DNA in a different way, and your neuroplasticity. So mindset is the greatest one. So if I have the capacity, I have an experience in life, and if I move away from the experience and I contract, depression, that's why they call it that. It's a collapsing of the energy. Now my character evolution doesn't stop, but it slows. Yeah. Now, if I just accept the experience, but I don't explore the experience, now my character evolves, but it doesn't evolve to its fullest extent. But if I accept the experience and I explore the experience, with a growth mindset, now I accelerate my character evolution. So you can go through the same journey, and that's why people at the same age, some are way more evolved in their character than others, but everyone goes through the same cycle of evolution. Yeah.
No, definitely.
I really love what you just said. That's such a great explanation for that piece. I've been looking lately at limiting beliefs. When we set limiting beliefs on ourselves, that doesn't allow us to explore what we could, because we've put these fences up. And, your explanation was really great, Steve, as to explain, some people don't go to the full extent that they could, and every individual's different. But it's like seeing the two of you talk about the purpose and so forth, you're in that space where anything is possible, and that's why you've got such high energy, the two of you, because it lifts you when you feel like anything is possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons I'm here by 10 p.m. or like 6 a.m. Giving the training. It all comes with your purpose. It's just the way that you get up in the morning and you're so energized.
Yeah, because you're doing what you're meant to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there's only one guarantee in life. One thing you can be 100% assured of, guaranteed, that will happen in life, that each of us will die at some stage. That's the only thing that we can be assured of, but it's not to be feared. The whole point of knowing and embracing that at some stage we will die should empower us to live every day to the fullest of its extent. And I'm not going to take these money and toys and things with me. Yeah, I need them for the journey, but at the end of the day, all the toys go back in the box. So I want to live a life that's full of character, full of impact, full of purpose, and full of experiences. And I want to inspire that for everyone around me.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And you're doing it very well.
Yeah.
Well, all of us are. That's why we're here. It's to empower each other.
Yeah.
We are bringing light to the world. So it's a delight to work with you guys. So does that sit well? Makes a bit of sense?
Yeah.
I'm presenting concepts from my own discoveries. I'm not claiming to be the know-it-all of the world. So you take out of this program what you find useful and you apply it to help create more shift and change in others. That's the whole point of it.
I think Naz and I both see something really powerful in that, right?
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
So this is how it now relates to culture. Yeah. So as a culture practitioner, you want to come in with the expansive knowledge that we have. And at the same time, remember, in the corporate space, some people might not be open to that thinking. So we break this down now to very simplistic views about what are the needs based on the human evolution for a culture, because we know that culture is nothing but the collective character of people. Now, the human needs are to feel safe, to feel supported, to feel accomplished, to feel valued. They're the foundational ones. The advanced culture ones are to feel free, to feel evolved, and to feel meaningful. Now, remember, people are in here with different lenses in a culture all at the same time. So a good culture can holistically provide this for its people at its stage. And that's why sometimes with a smaller organization, people have to leave because they're evolving and the culture doesn't have a space for them to evolve into where they're at. So it's not a bad thing for people to leave. So there'll be always a rate of attrition in an organization, but what you want is that attrition to be healthy attrition, where people are not leaving out of disengagement and resentment. So when you have that type of culture, you lose talent. When you have a culture that is engaged, the attrition tends to be that people are going because they want further evolution and growth, or they don't fit the culture. Either way, they're healthy reasons for people to be turning over. So what we did was map the 120 character traits to these 7 layers. We laid them all out on the table. There was 100 at the start when we first did it, and we placed them all down. There was a team of 8 of us, and we independently had our say on them, and we laid them all down. Then once we had them in the 7 layers, I asked every person in the team to pick up a card and determine whether it was more moral in nature or more performance in nature, in terms of doing or being. Yeah, and there's an element of character in every layer and in every performance and moral aspect. So they're very fluid, but where they sat at the end was these categories. And then it was like, we must have made a mistake here on the courage group because they're all on the performance side. Let's pick them up and do it again. So we went through them all independently. We put them all back down in the group and they all ended up in the same spot. I was like, we must have made a mistake. Let's do it again. So we did it the third time. We went through, they all ended up in the same spot. And then we did it one more time for the purpose group. It's like, well, why is that? And then when we went back to the base and we realized that energy is the I do energy. It's all about performance. Yeah. It's predominantly about performance outcome. It doesn't mean you can't be courageous, but it's more about doing things of courage. Yeah. Doing things that create endurance, doing things that are decisive, doing things that bring confidence, doing things that are committed, doing things that are brave, doing things that are assertive. Whereas with the purpose group, yeah, it's being prayerful, being in a state of awe, yeah, being purposeful. So there's a slight difference to the energy. So these ones on the right side are performance mostly in nature. These are more moral in nature. And as people, we can be balanced one way and the other too. I work with tons of business leaders and, there's no surprise guessing that they're strong on this side. And I work with church leaders as well. And there's no surprise that they're strong on this side. So, but the strength is in the unity of it all.
And I have a quick question, Stephen, just the previous slide.
Yep.
How do you, it might be a silly question, but how do you read this emotion side and layers, like the meaningful and purpose 7 goes to emotion, feeling, meaningful?
Explain more. I'm not following you.
Like this layers on the left. Oh.
This is all the cards out of the courage group.
That's the one. Okay.
Yep. So just explaining how they.
Yes. Okay. Now it just makes. Okay.
Cool.